Does Mike Zero think that ThanksKilling is one of the top movies of all time? Assassin's Creed Mirage is the worst game in the history of gaming. And it's like, I've got some weird to show you that will make you rethink everything you've just said. Like, I've made TikToks about how important Wii Sports was to video
Oh,
games. It is the
yes.
most important video game of all time. There's still today in nursing homes, like catatonic old people are still playing Wii bowling right now. There is like a coked up 98-year-old in a nursing home in Arkansas that is the greatest Wii bowler ever.
Yeah. Does nothing, and his name is Jerry, and he does nothing but bull strikes. Nothing
It's
but
a
bull
woman,
strikes.
Luke. No
Oh,
way.
yeah.
You'll convince
right.
me.
The Jedi Knights are all but destroyed, and yet your task is not complete, Inquisitor. The Emperor has foreseen a new threat rising against him. The Podwans Podcast.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome in today for episode 107 of the Podwans Podcast. I am your host, Char, joined by Jedi Master Eggs and Hereth Productions. Today, we're going to be talking about everything Thanksgiving, because today is Thanksgiving. These guys watch a little bit of a parody movie of Thanksgiving, or for Thanksgiving. It's called ThanksKilling, and we have someone coming in to talk about it with them. Yeah, let's bring in Chase It Forward into the Black.
Oh, hello there.
Hi, are you ready to talk about ThanksKilling?
I am always ready to talk about ThanksKilling. It doesn't have to be Thanksgiving. I will talk about ThanksKilling at any time of the year.
Well, we're starting
Okay,
a new thing. We're going to start a new thing real quick, Char, before you get going. Chase,
Yeah.
what was your, because we've known you a long time. You've been on the channel quite a bit. I would say that you're kind of like a 5th or 6th or 4th or wherever you want to put yourself in the
69th.
Sure, we can throw you at 69th, absolutely.
Yes.
What was your come to Star Wars, like, when did you know that you were fully into the community? Like, what was your moment that you're like, wow?
I think for me, it was meeting everyone in person in Anaheim for the first time. Like, that's when it felt very real, because like I've met very few of my internet friends in life, but also meeting like 50 all at one time was wild. And just going to Galaxy's Edge for the first time and experiencing it with like you guys and everyone else that was there, like that was the like coming to Jesus moment of like, oh, this is real.
Yeah, I'm right with you, Chase. Anaheim, that's going to be like a trademark moment for our group, where we all just encountered each other for the first time. Like, wait, we're real people?
I think it was also humbling knowing that, you know, with the exception that all of us kind of have that online persona, but for the most part, like everyone behaved in real life the way they do on the internet. And that was really cool, because I've definitely met people from internet friends that were like, oh, you're kind of, you know, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse, but like you're different online than you are in person.
And I agree. A lot of the group that we are in, we don't have a lot of fake people. Like, there's not a ton of fake people that are just like not who they are. You know what I mean?
Well, it also helps too that we're all passionate about one thing, because you can't really hide that. And I mean, this franchise kind of molded us into who we are as people in a way. We're kind of like on the same wavelength of personality and passion.
Yeah, because I've done LAN parties before. People I knew online are like, hey, let's do a meetup in Georgia. And so we go there and like everyone's really awkward. And like we all like most of the same games, but some it's like, oh, I actually really like this one more. I like that one more. And you kind of just like would separate off into your own little cells and groups. And it's like, it was still fun, but like it wasn't the same as kind of like what we all kind of established when we all met each other in person. So yeah, it's a cool thing when it's all super focused into one thing, and seeing everyone kind of branch out recently has been really cool, seeing like other things that people are into.
It's just like a year prior to Anaheim, we're only on Discord and TikTok. That's the only places that we can communicate with each other. So when that time came, and I was in Anaheim with you guys, going to the panels, and then going for Kenobi, and then the trivia championship, and then all of these different things all happening within the span of 3 to 4 days was just surreal.
But like I don't know, like I met Haley in real life. That was pretty great. That turned out really well for me. So that was a big plus of meeting everyone in person.
Yeah, and that's also where Luke met Alanis too.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many cornerstone moments that happened in Anaheim.
No, yeah, it's crazy. Well, anyway, so originally when Chase came on, we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do for this episode, and 3 out of the 4 watched this silly little movie called ThanksKilling. And we're going to give you like a little review of it.
Here, for someone who hasn't seen the movie, let me just read the synopsis of the movie.
Yeah,
Please do.
you read the synopsis. No, you have to read it as Tom Kane.
Tom Kane? No.
Read it as Charlie.
See, that's what I like to hear. This is like one sentence. So, a homicidal turkey axes off college kids during Thanksgiving break.
It's a lot deeper than that.
That's
man.
the premise of the movie.
It's a lot
That's the
deeper
premise
than
of the
that.
movie.
That's the premise
of the movie.
But
Charlie, I want you to know that the very first frame of this film is a woman's nipple.
Nice. I missed out on that.
And it zooms out to reveal a pilgrim woman with her breasts exposed for no reason, as she's running through the woods being chased by the turkey. And the first line of the film is the turkey saying, "Nice tits, bitch," before he kills the pilgrim woman.
I missed that.
Yes.
yeah, you missed that.
You missed
my
great
God, that sounds
cinema,
incredible.
Char.
See, this was a very Char-coded movie.
Oh no, there's a
if I
character in the
can be
movie that's
honest.
very, very
Oh
Char-coded.
yeah, dude. It's wild. Like the first 2
Wait,
minutes, I'm like,
there's a
oh,
character
so
that's
this is what this movie is
Char-coded?
like.
Yes.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Elaborate.
It's stupid. It's got tits, and there's like crude humor. So it's just basically up your alley.
Yeah, like the turkey delivers one-liners like throughout the whole movie. Gobble gobble, motherfucker. That's some foul play.
or when he literally kills like there's these kids, they go to the woods, and it takes so many turns. Like it's like the cohesive story is just like first this happens, and then it's like another outlandish thing happens. Like the whole story starts off like this guy in the backwoods. I swear this was filmed in West Virginia. It had to have been filmed in West Virginia.
It was filmed in Ohio.
Damn it. Okay, it was close. But like this hillbilly with like a rifle is like in this shack, right? He has this dog. The dog pisses on a Native American, like, I don't know what would you call it, Jay? It's like a burial ground?
It's like a talisman, or
Yeah,
like
a talisman.
like a
That's
little
the word.
a mini totem pole where
Yeah.
the turkey is buried.
And then the turkey comes alive, kills the dog. The guy finds
The dog
dead
named
dog.
Flashy.
Oh yeah, the dog named Flashy. It's very important that it's Flashy. The guy literally goes, "What the hell happened to Flashy? Flashy, not my wife too." And it's like, just like what?
And
Over
he
the
says
top.
it just like that
Right.
because all the acting in
literally
this
does.
movie is 10 out of 10.
If you're a dude, bro, don't watch this movie. If you like to drink or get high, and you want to watch a dumb movie,
I know
or-
tons of dude bros that love ThanksKilling.
really?
You want to know? Okay, so I was
Okay.
given the DVD to ThanksKilling probably a couple years after it came out.
Really?
Watched
Okay.
it. I told my family one year for Thanksgiving, we're watching ThanksKilling, and like my family likes scary movies. They're not into like my dad has seen like the first 2 Saw movies and liked them, and has seen Hostel.
Mhm.
My sister likes scary movies. My mom will watch mostly anything. But I was like, we should watch this movie called ThanksKilling. They all loved it. They thought it was the funniest thing ever.
That's awesome.
Like it has such a strong opening where they're just
It
like,
does.
what are you making us watch? But yeah, like there's good kills in it. Like when I can't remember the bigger dude. He's like, oh, I'm so hungry, and he
Yeah.
sees
The
the
turkey
turkey, but thinks
everywhere.
it's like a fully cooked turkey, and he like eats the turkey, and then the turkey still has his shotgun. He apparently swallowed the shotgun whole, and he just gets shot out of the stomach from the
Yeah.
inside.
What?
Even the turkey goes through his stomach like alien style, and
Oh,
like
it's
And that's when you get
gobbling.
gobble gobble, motherfucker.
Fucker. Yeah.
Some foul play.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
the best part, and I still like, it's one of the funniest scenes to me of like any movie, is so like the turkey goes to the good girl's house, because there's like the promiscuous girl and then the good girl, right? So the turkey goes to the good girl's house, and her dad is like the sheriff basically, and he sits down to have coffee with the dad, and the dad is just having coffee with a talking turkey, not like questioning it. The dad is like, oh, he just says like, oh, you're one of those little people. And turkey's like, yeah, man, absolutely. And then obviously the turkey gets fed up with him being called a dwarf, and he kills the dad.
Yup.
And then the good girl comes home with the college friends, and the turkey-sized turkey is wearing the dad's face loosely with the string, and all of them are like, the girl's like, "Oh, hi, Daddy. How are you doing?" and bends down to kiss the
Yeah.
turkey wearing her
Yeah.
dad's face. And the scene continues on for like another 6 minutes where they're like, "Yeah, no, that's totally your dad.
And by this
not a
point in the
turkey wearing a
story,
human face."
everyone in that party has encountered the turkey at least once.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so amazing.
Also, the fact how they get there is also really wild because they're like, we need this book in a library, but we can't get it to our library. Oh, isn't your
The
dad like
library's
a
closed at
horror
night.
fan?
That is look. Lots of movies have plot holes. That is totally reasonable. Like,
Yes,
we
that
need
is
to
very reasonable.
research this. We need to research this, but it's the middle of the night. The library's closed. All right, we'll just go into my dad's little book collection. He definitely has a book on killer turkeys.
And then he opens the book and it's like a math equation to solve it. I'm like, what the fuck
Yeah.
is this?
Oh man, speaking of, that guy may have been char coded. That kid is Hereth coded. So bad.
You're right.
Like to
No,
a T.
yes,
That is Hereth.
yes. Every single time every single time he would say something, I'd be like, I'd look at Harris, I go, "That's you, Harris."
Hereth, if I ever catch you doing this, you will never live it down. You will never live it down.
Now Harris gonna be like subconscious whenever he's in VC or just like around Chase, and he just like has a cold. He has a cold. Yeah. He's got a cold or something. He's got to cover his face, and he does this. He goes, "Ha!" And then just like it's over.
It's
for him.
you.
It's you.
Or Chase is gonna become our #1 fan and just watch every single episode. And then
Oh
the
yeah, and
second I do
screenshot
it,
it.
I'll make a compilation of times you wipe your mouth.
Oh my god.
After looking at the art style of the movie, you know what this movie reminds me of?
What?
Have you ever heard of the movie Velocipaster?
Yeah, the movie's great.
Never-
ThanksKilling was like one of the big things that started these types of movies, because ThanksKilling's very self-aware that it's a bad movie. It
Yeah,
doesn't
I would
care.
say so.
So like movies like Velocipaster, Sharknado, and stuff like that, ThanksKilling walked so those movies could run.
That makes a whole lot of
it is
sense.
very much in that vein.
Because when did ThanksKilling come out? 2008, it says?
Yeah,
Mhm.
2008. It was. You can definitely tell it's a dated movie.
yeah, there's a turkey corp in there. Yeah, this is a 2008 movie for sure.
Yeah. It was a wild ride. I was glad that I was inebriated. I said that right? Inebriated.
You said that right.
All right.
You know what also came out in 2008 that we should watch?
Oh God, what?
The People versus George Lucas.
Should watch that. I would watch that.
I've watched that too many times.
I haven't. I don't think I've ever.
Put the
I
deep
think I've
rose in his
seen.
teeth.
I think I've seen like
Clips.
I don't think I've seen. Yeah, I've seen clips, but I've never seen the full thing. A lot of Chase's content is Star Wars related. But he's also a big gamer. He
sometimes.
you play Starfield, Star Citizen.
Yeah.
What got you really into doing like what got you into like liking aircrafts and kind of
Star Wars.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean my grandfather on my mom's side, my grandfather and my uncle on my mom's side were both in the Navy. They were both on aircraft carriers. My uncle was a aircraft mechanic in Vietnam. He worked on A6 Corsairs, and he stole a bunch of parts from those planes. He has a bunch of those parts. He has a bunch of the flight sticks from Phantoms and Corsairs and Super Demons. So like stuff like that, and seeing that, we would go to air shows as a kid, and like obviously like the trench run still is like my favorite scene of Star Wars ever. And so that's kind of where it started. And then playing games like X-Wing and TIE Fighter in the 90s, like that was a big thing. Borrowing my cousin's like cheapo flight stick from like 1993 and playing those games. And then stuff like Freelancer, the X series, like that's where I really got into it. And then, like Microsoft Flight Simulator throughout the years. And I mean, Star Citizen is a mess, and Starfield is really good. But like I've always been into those things. Like when I played Battlefield, like 1942, like I would hook up joysticks to that.
That's
and
wild.
Fly under the bridges. Like I would just play to do like stunts and stuff like that.
While everybody's playing the objective, you just see Chase.
Oh yeah, like keep in mind, like Battlefield 1942 came out in like 2003.
Yeah, it's an old
and
game.
it's still great, but like we would do like the Battle of Britain where you have like the Ju-88, which is this huge German like plane. It's got multiple
Yes.
gunners, the big bomber. And I would like flip it inverted, and you would just press E to get out of it, and you could get it just right where you could walk on the belly of it while it's flying. And then as it would come down, you could just get back in and then recover with it. Oh man.
That's badass.
Yeah.
So I remember gaming, like my main system was like PS2, then the Xbox 360, and then PS4, then PS5.
Mhm.
Like, what first gaming system?
First one, the one I got for Christmas was the Sega Genesis. So that was like the first one I had that I played regularly. I lived when I growing up in Georgia, I lived 7 doors down from my aunt and uncle, and they had an Atari 2600. So I did play a little bit of that, but that was when I was a functioning human. The 2600 was an old console. If you think of like it would basically be a PS3 today. Like when I played it, if that makes sense. They had an NES, and I would play like the original Mario, played Duck Hunt, Excite Bike, and then when I got the Genesis, my cousin got the Super Nintendo, so I was able to play like both of those, and so got really into like Super Metroid and stuff like that. But that's growing up as a kid, those were like the consoles, and then like I was 4th or 5th grade when the Nintendo 64 came out. And so
N64 was the fucking
GoldenEye,
console, dude.
perfect. GoldenEye has not aged well, by the way.
No, it hasn't, but it is fun to play.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Perfect
my
Dark was another big one.
gosh.
Ocarina of Time, huge
Mhm.
fan of Ocarina of Time. Rogue Squad, the original Rogue Squadron video
Yes.
game on
Yep.
N64 was still. I've like gone back to play that recently. It still holds up as a really good game.
Or I love going over to a friend's house who still owns N64, and they bust out the original Mario Party 2 and just like going crazy and just drinking and then just keep yelling at each other. It's fun.
The original Mario parties are really good.
Yeah.
The N64, like I'm not a Smash Brothers fan, but like the
That is-
N64 Smash Brothers, like I know a lot of people are really into the game, like Melee, the GameCube one, but like N64 Smash Brothers was
that
was
like
like a good fun time.
That takes skill. Like Melee, I feel like is just smashing buttons. Like with N64, like you.
No, Melee is the really skill.
Melee is the one with wave dashing. You have to like.
Oh, really?
Be very advanced.
People get real sweaty and real stinky with Melee.
I feel like N64, just like the N64 Smash Bros was just like if you got Kirby,
it's so
you were
much fun.
you were a cheap code, and like the graphics were so good for I feel like the N64 Smash Bros still kind of it doesn't. It's like obviously wonky, but it still holds up.
I saw a really good like video like talking about like video games of that era and like the descriptions of them of like we've reached a new level of realism. Like when you look at like people talking about like the original Quake, like which I love, it's one of my favorite games of all time. But like that's a very simple game. It's a new level of realism, or like the fact that like in Ocarina of Time, Link is rendered in 3D, and people are like, wow. When you cut the grass, it cuts like perfectly, or you cut the sign, it cuts in the direction the sword was going. This is peak realism, and obviously you go back now and it's like, wow.
No, because it's like in like for Star Wars games, there wasn't a ton for the N64. Like it was
Rogue
Squadron?
Rogue Squadron, Shadows of the Empire,
those
Pod Racer.
Oh, that's right. Never mind. I do forget about those. I wasn't the one. I didn't own a N64, so like the games that we really like, all we really played Star Wars wise was the Rogue Squadron game, and that was
PS1 would have been Phantom Menace, Masters of Terras Kasi, Star Wars Demolition,
Jedi Knight
Star Wars
Academy.
No, Jedi Power Battles would have been PS1.
Battles. That's right, because PS2 had Jedi Knight Academy.
No,
well,
yes.
no, wait.
Those were PC games, but yeah, they got ported to the consoles.
But I thought that Jedi Academy was only on Xbox.
No, it was. I think it may have been on PS2 and GameCube at one point, but it was a PC game that got ported. Like all the Jedi Knight and Dark Forces games were PC games first.
You're thinking of Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh, that's what it was.
Knights of the Republic was 1 and 2 were Xbox exclusives.
That's right.
I mean, Super Nintendo, like Super Star Wars was really good, but those are
actually
insanely
Super Star Wars
hard
on
games.
my PS5. Because
they're insanely difficult games, but they're so much fun.
I just wish and this is gonna be my actual political plea to Sony. Please just port the PSP version of Battlefront and Battlefront 2 so that I can.
No one wants that. Those are not good ports.
Shut up.
Bro, I just want the PS2 version.
Look, I have a Vita like in my drawer. Like I love the Sony handhelds, but most of those like the handheld like the PlayStation handhelds like best games were games that were made exclusively for those games.
That's
like when
true.
they tried to make like Battlefront or Call of Duty or like Test Drive for like the handheld, it was so bad.
Yeah.
Every time.
Why do you think that was?
With the PSP, it only had one joystick, so you couldn't aim the way you could with like a regular thing. And with the Vita, they really wanted to push the dual touchpads, and like for something like Call of Duty where it's like it doesn't really have a need for it, or something like a racing game like Test Drive or Gran Turismo, it doesn't.
I played a shit ton of Gran Turismo on my PSP.
Gran Turismo PSP was great because you just needed the stick. But when they tried to do stuff with the Vita, like with some of the racing games, like the Ridge Racer stuff, like they wanted to incorporate the touchscreen to it because they had to. And it's like the touchscreen was really cool. Like if you ever played WTF for PSP, like that was a great touchscreen game. But like when it was like, yeah, we have to use this touchscreen both on the front and the back, and then it was like when they did Uncharted on the PS Vita, and like you had to swipe to climb, and it was just really bad. You know, I used to have one of those expandable, like we have them now for cell phones, but like you would, put it on the windshield of your car, and you could like clamp down a GPS. Yeah, because we didn't have phones to do that. I would clamp down my PSP to my windshield and use that as I would hook my cassette to auxiliary cable. I'd push that in, and I'd put the auxiliary cable into the PSP, and I would use it as my touchscreen multimedia player. It was great.
That's awesome. I love that.
The amount of times that I watched Austin Powers Goldmember on my PSP.
Oh man, UMD movies, like rest in peace. What a bad but amazing piece of technology. I miss UMD.
Yeah,
movies.
I think I still have a few of my PSP cartridges. Hold on.
That's ancient. I wonder that Char. That's in pretty good condition. Oh man, you too.
Got the Vita,
yeah. Vita, yeah.
Oh, that's my childhood right there, dude. That was my first ever console next to the PS1. That is so nostalgic.
What is it?
ATV Off-Road Fury Pro.
Oh, dude, those games were so much fun.
I used to play them on my PS2. Off-Road Fury 2 used the fucking hockey game. Great.
Oh,
everyone talks about how good the original Battlefront was, or the original Battlefront 2.
Yes.
But as someone who has a really weird habit of collecting like physical PC games,
that's a beautiful.
I have this. Gorgeous. I have both KOTORs on disc for PC.
No, but like Chase, like that's the only reason why I would get a PC is to
still got the manual.
Stop! You're making me extremely jealous right now because I would love nothing more than to have EA actually just make just do a
big chunky box.
Oh yeah, because okay, and that's not even for
multiple discs.
But like here's the thing now, Chase. That was just for the regular version, wasn't it not?
Yeah, and then you got a notebook with it.
Yeah,
that's just a pressing part of what we're at in gaming right now. Where we're just missing instruction manuals.
No, I actually disagree. I think the way that games are made today, they don't need instruction manuals. You have to remember, you can go to the settings, and a lot of the reason we would do instruction manuals and if you think about like a Mario game, and it had instruction manuals and it had all of the enemy information, right?
Yeah.
And that's how we learned that Birdo was actually a boy in Super Mario 2. The reason you would do that is, number one, you wanted to let people, these were very short games. Keep that in mind. They're incredibly short games. And you were working with limited amount of memory that you could use on a cartridge, so you couldn't just load in encyclopedias into the game, so that had to be offloaded into a physical form. Whereas now you have audio logs, and you can just, at the touch of a button, a lot of the instruction manuals are built in to the game itself now. I don't know, I see on YouTube all the time people oh, gaming is officially dead.
Which is bullshit. It's bullshit.
Yeah, it's people said that when we were moving to CDs. When Sony put a DVD player into the PlayStation 2, people freaked out because I don't care about DVDs. They're making it so expensive. They're forcing DVDs on me.
That's dumb, because I remember reading a lot of reports and also owning a PS2. A lot of people bought a PS2 just for the DVD player.
Oh yeah.
Well, the PS3 was the cheapest Blu-ray player for the longest time.
Yeah, it was.
So people bought PlayStation 3 is just to watch Blu-rays. But it was another thing is like that was like the consensus if you were to go like online, which was a little bit more limited than it is today, of just like this is the worst thing ever. Like when you go back to like the console wars of yesteryear, Sega versus Nintendo, and people were saying why you're an idiot for wanting to play Mario over Sonic. Like it hasn't changed. Like it's just now it's Uncharted versus God of War.
Well, it's more Spider-Man versus Starfield.
Sure. Whatever it may be, and it's just like it's one of those things of like Starfield has a ton of people active on it right now on both Steam and Game Pass, not to mention people just playing regularly on Xbox. But like the internet is like, oh, it's the worst game ever made. And like I thought of this like funny idea. Maybe it's not that funny, but like making content based on like clickbaity content of like, does Mike Zero think that ThanksKilling is one of the top movies of all time? Because like I said, he said Miss Marvel is the worst movie ever, and it's like, well, based on that, you think that Miss Marvel's the worst movie ever, so that means you have to think like something like The Room is actually peak cinema, like just being as extreme as they are, and like being like, I'm not really good with like YouTube gamers, but like people like the new Modern Warfare 3 is the worst game ever, and it's like, oh yeah, this person thinks that 18-wheeler off-road fury is the greatest thing of all time.
They think Gollum should win Game of the Year.
Oh, good God. Don't get me started on that fucking game. Oh, my God.
You know what? Okay, I haven't played Gollum. I'm so happy that Gollum exists. Like, I miss these piece of shit, just trashy games that get like the PS2 era and Wii era of games of like, man, this is terrible. This is a tie-in movie and it's terrible. But like there's always something like really silly about it. And if you watch stuff like AGDQ, like the speedrun stuff, and people like, hey, when they do AGDQ, which is awesome games done quick, they'll usually do a block called AGDQ, awful games done quick, and it's just like the worst games ever being beaten really fast. And it's like there's some really interesting things about these games, and like I've not played Gollum. I'm sure it's terrible, but like, I really like terrible games. I've got a friend that has like a podcast where he basically just talks about really obscure, weird games for like from Japan, and it's just like not like he's trying to make a statement, but it's like when people say Starfield is the worst thing ever, or Spider-Man is the worst, like Assassin's Creed Mirage is the worst game in the history of gaming, and it's like, I've got some weird shit to show you that will make you rethink everything you've just said.
No, yeah.
Well, I mean, I know we've talked about it at length.
Grifters gonna grift.
Yeah, it generates revenue for them, and so they're gonna say stuff like that. Like, I do miss the B tier game. Like, I miss those like cheaper games that are just a little bit wonky and don't have the huge budget, but there's a little bit more creative freedom and stuff in there. But like also like I'm not afraid to say I like AAA games. Like I've been playing Call of Duty and it's been a great time. I played Starfield a ton. It's really good.
Okay, so I'm gonna call an audible here, Chase. I'm gonna have you rank your favorite gaming consoles.
Actually,
wow! I haven't played all of these. I've played a lot of these.
Okay.
I like this.
So number one, S tier, the Sega Dreamcast. There's not a lot of like. There's definitely bad games on the Dreamcast, but it has like some of the coolest and most inventive games ever.
Can we do the
next to the Dreamcast would definitely be the PlayStation 2. Like the PlayStation 2 is one of the greatest consoles ever made.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It has some of the worst games ever made for sure.
Agreed.
But like the good games that are on it are like some of the greatest games of all time. PlayStation 2 is phenomenal.
And I feel like
you can go ahead and throw like, look, I love weird, obscure shit. You can throw the Nokia N-Gage into the lowest tier possible. That thing is so fucking shitty. Not the slim one. The slim one is nice because it has the Ethernet plug on the back, where the bigger one you had to get the adapter, but the bigger one has the tray that came out.
Are you talking about the PlayStation?
Yeah, the PS2. No,
yeah,
PS2
Slim. So I had a PS2. My friend or a neighbor of mine had a PS2 Slim, and I was always kind of like, why the hell did they do this? Like, there's not really a big difference, at least to me. At least again, my knowledge with like systems and shit like that was just like at the bare minimum.
The problem with the first PS2 was the disk drive would break.
Yeah,
because of the tray, which is why essentially no Well, the Xbox 360 had a tray, but it abandoned the tray, I think, in the third iteration of it. The trays just broke.
Yeah.
And so everyone went with slot fed. But the big upgrade for the PS2 was the built-in Ethernet port, so you can play like Final Fantasy 11 and Monster Hunter.
Oh yeah.
You could play Midnight Club online. Let's see. Super Nintendo also 100% deserves to be in S tier. Like those are, to me, those are like the three greatest consoles.
I will.
I remember
I think
playing-
I think the N64 deserves S tier as well.
I
I
say
don't.
A tier.
I don't.
Why?
Yeah.
It's a
N64 A tier. Number one, that fucking controller.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
yeah.
Playing
Hey,
on N64
hey,
controller is just
hey,
hell.
Get good. You have
I-
and first of all, Chase, I thought you'd be really good because the middle part feels like a joystick of like you're gonna be flying. So I don't understand.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Not at all. No, the N64 has Super Mario Brothers 64, right? It has The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. It has Super Smash Brothers.
Yes.
Um,
Donkey Kong. Can't forget about
No.
Donkey Kong.
absolutely not.
Love
We're talking about
playing
like really, really important, like top tier games. I would say GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, because they're very innovative for what they were. Like they started getting console shooters on the ground, because like the N64 version of Quake and Quake 2 was terrible. The PS1 versions of like Unreal Tournament were also terrible. So like that kind of helped formalize it, but like other than that, there's not a ton of like exceptionally good games. Like there's good games, but not a ton of great games. Whereas like the PlayStation 1 has a ton of great influential games. The N64 really doesn't. It's definitely a nostalgia console.
Bullshit.
For
What do
sure.
you know?
I-
Bullshit. What do you know?
I think for sure Ocarina of
After
Time,
you said all
Majora's
that stuff.
Mask, Mario 64 definitely carry it. But I don't think it carries it.
I would
into
not
S
put
tier.
Majora's Mask in there.
Really?
Majora's Mask is just a weird game in general. It's even like by today's standards, it's a weird Zelda game. The Dreamcast, the PlayStation
Yep.
2, and the Super Nintendo.
Remember,
those
this
are
is
my
Chase's, and then we just have our thoughts.
these are my S tier.
All
S
right.
tier consoles.
So
Okay.
Chase, what are your thoughts on the GameCube?
The GameCube had the best graphics of all three between the PlayStation 2, the Dreamcast, and the Xbox.
Even more than Xbox? I thought Xbox had a mile.
Xbox was a computer, but like what the Xbox did is like Halo 2 is a really gorgeous game, but it really stopped with Halo 2. Like a lot of the stuff was just PC games like Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, and Jedi Outcast on like low to medium settings being ported to the Xbox. You had stuff like the original Forza, which was kind of impressive, but like Gran Turismo 4 looked way better than Forza. Like if you look at Resident Evil Remake on the GameCube, like that game still to this day looks really good. Resident Evil 4, which was originally a GameCube exclusive,
Leon.
is a gorgeous looking game. Even today, like I'm a bad Resident Evil fan. I need to play the remake, but 4 is still a good looking game. But I think like when you look at some of the stuff like Eternal Darkness for the GameCube, man, that is a wild game, but also like a really good looking game. But I think the GameCube just like it has lots of weird, cool games, but not like tons of.
I'm also thinking of stuff like Wind
Influential
Waker, Mario
Fucking hate that game.
Sunshine.
Fucking hate that game. I'm not the biggest Zelda fan, by the way.
So Chase, what we'll do is we'll only put the S tier ones up, and then everything else is just going to be just mid. So just pick your favorite ones, and we'll be just to save time. But we'll just go with your favorite
the PS,
one.
I would like if let's do A tier.
Okay.
Like I
That's
would
an A
put the
tier? Okay.
PlayStation 1. The PlayStation 1 is an A tier console.
PlayStation 1. I moved it up here somewhere. Okay, there it is.
I would throw the PlayStation 4 in A tier.
Yeah.
I think the PlayStation 4, if we look at like the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 and the Xbox and Xbox 360 and like very influential consoles, but they were also like consoles that really struggled with what they were trying to do, especially with like online content, and they were still struggling with the limitations of their consoles. And I think the PlayStation 4 was like that first start of like, we're no longer struggling with the limitations of the console. It's basically like, what stupid stuff can we add to the game to make it flashier is kind of where we're at right now. Whereas like the PlayStation, like if you like, it's so funny if you look at the original Resistance game on the PlayStation 3, which is a launch title on the PlayStation 3, and how fucking dog shit that game looks versus The Last of Us on the PlayStation 3. Like it's night and day. Like you would think if you had never heard of either of those games and I said these games came out on the same console, you'd be like, that's bullshit. But the PlayStation 4, I think it nailed online really well. I think the Xbox 360 did it okay. It popularized it for sure. But I think the PlayStation 4 made it like it had all the good stuff. Like it had like parties built in, it had party chat built in. It made things very easy for everyone.
Also, the exclusives of like God of War, Spider-Man, Last of Us,
I would-
Uncharted 4.
I would make the argument that exclusives stopped mattering after the PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
I disagree because for me,
No,
at least, the
I
reason
will
why-
I will say three things that mean exclusives no longer matter. Call of Duty, Madden,
Yep.
and FIFA being the big one. It very much like with Call of Duty and the two big sports games, I think with video games, it was very much you bought what your friends bought. I like Sonic, I like Mario. It wasn't I liked Final Fantasy and I like Zelda. It was what are your friends playing? I don't actually need to play Killzone.
I would say that for the people that were primarily multiplayer driven, but for people that were single player driven, I felt like PlayStation was where it was at. Because I felt like PlayStation had Xbox beat with all the single player games. With all the exclusives.
The thing about the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 is that's when third party really started coming together. Because keep in mind, like if you look at the PlayStation 2, like Final Fantasies were still only on PlayStation. Like you did not play, like originally were Nintendo games, but then they became PlayStation games. So if you wanted to play Final Fantasy single player, you had to get a PlayStation 2 or a PlayStation 1. If you wanted to play any first party Nintendo game, obviously you have to buy Nintendo. And I think they're always the outlier. Like people will buy a Switch or a Wii just to play Mario and Zelda. Like, but the big single player games, well, it's like, yes, Last of Us is cool. Gears of War is cool. Spider-Man is cool. Fallout, Elder Scrolls, those are the big single player games. If you look at like other games like BioShock, like those were available on all consoles, ready to go.
What about Fable? Chase, you remember Fable?
No one fucking cares about Fable, dude. Fable has 1.5 good games.
Defending like the 3 Fable fans, like no.
Oh no, I played Fable on the
no,
360, and it was one of the weirdest things ever.
Okay, Fable was like the biggest learning experience of my life when it came to video games because that was the last game I ever hyped myself up for. Like Peter Molyneux, that son of a bitch, he sold me that like it was like basically like, yeah, you've played GTA 3, right? And everyone loves GTA 3, and I think like Vice City had just come out. San Andreas wasn't out yet. I might be getting the timeline, but like Fable was like, oh well, like imagine that, but like everything you do matters. Like if you hit a tree, like that will show up when you're later, you know, it's like if you killed a butterfly, it'll hurt someone's feelings and it'll carry over later on. None of that shit mattered. Like but here's the thing, is I was so hyped and I was telling everyone about it. Like Fable came out probably my sophomore year of high school. And I was like, yo, like you're not ready for Fable, man. Like this is the game to end all. You will never need another video game again after Fable.
Oh,
and it's like that sentence alone, you will never need another video game after Fable, is the fucking dumbest thing that I could possibly think of. I stopped hyping myself up for games after Fable because I played through Fable and I had a busted Xbox when I played through Fable for the first time. And so it would crash every time it got to the end credits. So I technically could never beat it on the original Xbox. And I was like, this game was not good. It did not live up to my expectations. But then I remember going back, like I got another Xbox later on. Like this was like probably close to when the PS4 was getting ready to come out. And I was like, oh, I still have my copy of Fable laying around. Well, let me go through this shitty game again. I was like, oh, this game's really enjoyable. Like it, for what it is, it's a fun action RPG. There are interesting choices and like, hey, if you do this, if you use magic more, you'll age faster and like interesting things like that. You still can't fucking swim in the game, but I thought you could do anything. After that, I like swore to myself, like I'm never hyping myself up for any game ever again. And my life has been so much better for it.
Oh my god! I know this conversation is so scattered brain, but getting back to the ranking for a second, I'm gonna pull out an interesting console that no one's gonna think of besides Chase and I. Where is the Wii U ranked?
The Wii U.
The Wii U. I still have my Wii U. I love the Wii U. I would not put it high. I'd put it higher than probably everyone else in the world would. I'm like one of 9 Wii U fans.
I am one. I'm one of 9 Wii U fans too.
Great. There's 7 more of us out there. I would not put it above the Wii, like personally, and I'm not a big fan of the Wii, but it would definitely be a B tier. I would put the Wii as an A. I actually really don't like the Wii. But I like it's such an important console. Like I've made TikToks about how important Wii Sports was to video games.
Yes.
Like it is the most important video game of all time. They're still today in nursing homes. Like fucking catatonic old people are still playing Wii bowling right now.
I also
they're heavily medicated and they're probably the best. Like, you know, I like to say like, oh, like if you go into like really weird parts of New York and like you play chess and he's like this really scatterbrained dude, he's a savant, he's the best chess player. There is like a coked up 98-year-old in a nursing home in fucking Arkansas that is the greatest Wii bowler ever.
Yeah. Does nothing, and his name is Jerry, and he does nothing but
it's
bowl
a woman,
strikes.
Luke. It's a fucking woman. There's no way you will convince me that it's not Gladys.
Yeah, Gladys. Yeah, it's Gladys. Meet 98-year-old Gladys. She does lines of cocaine and is unequivocally the #1 bowler in the entire world.
I'm fully convinced that they don't actually give old people medication in nursing homes. It's just cocaine.
Just cocaine.
Yeah, this is Gladys. She does crochet for a living. She makes sweaters and sells them to the public, and she's also the #1 ranked Wii bowler in the world.
She's got that sparkly bowling ball.
Probably #1 in Wii boxing too.
Speaking of the Wii in motion, like the minute you realize you didn't have to swing hard, you could just go like this.
Yeah, that takes all the fun out of it.
The concept of like just like the Wii remote and just like how like all you had to do was like show someone like, you know how to bowl, right? You just bowl, and then they get it. You know, they have the clumsy thing of like you got to hold the trigger like you're holding the thing and you got to let it go. Yeah. And then they throw the bowling ball back into the crowd and the crowd jumps and spins. When we think about like the biggest games of all time, like Super Mario Brothers for the Super Nintendo, Zelda Ocarina of Time, Halo, if you show that to a random person on the street, right? They may or may not know what that is, but if you show someone Wii Sports, like you just show them a video of Wii bowling, they will know what that is. Like,
also, hot take, I would also throw Tetris in there. Sorry, gamers.
Man, you're really barking up the wrong tree.
I would say, yeah, it's probably pretty close with Tetris and Wii Sports as far as like recognizability. Like most people understand the rules of Tetris. I would not be surprised if like people like, oh, I've never played a Tetris game. Although understanding the rules of Tetris, like you have to get a line to clear the line.
All right, where's the next console going?
I would put GameCube at C tier. If we just go down the line, I can just kind of Xbox 360. I would put the Xbox 360 at B tier, mostly because it's a very important console as far as internet connectivity goes, but also none of the original Xboxes work anymore.
Yeah.
So I can't say it's like an A or S tier console.
I had like 3 Xbox 360s that Red Ringed on me.
I've never owned an Xbox 360.
Really?
It's a very important console. Like the way video games are made the way they are because of how the 360 developed games. I'm gonna say the 360 also had the worst fucking launch lineup of all time. Perfect Dark Zero and Project Gotham Racing 3. Like fucking and Uno. I'll give it
Uno. Yeah. Don't shit on Uno. Don't shit on Uno.
The fucking famous video, you have Uno. No, I don't. Mine didn't come with it.
Don't forget the Burger King game. That was a great game.
Oh no, Sneak King is so good. Like people make fun of that game all the time. Sneak King is fucking amazing. It's Splinter Cell in Metal Gear Solid, right? But instead of like murdering people, you sneak up on them and present them with a fucking Whopper.
Yes, yes, you do.
You remember the King, their super creepy King from the Burger King advertisements, right? You would do that, and he would do this behind people, and when you would like any other stealth game, you would, you'd snap their neck or put a knife in them, right? No, he taps them on the shoulder, spins around, and gives them a whopper.
It's like five. It's literally like Five Nights at Freddy's. Like that game walked so that
It
Five
is a
Nights at Freddy's
game you
could
can
run.
beat in less than an hour. But
so
like,
good.
fucking like Burger King was like, what if we gave away Xbox 360 games with like certain Burger King meals? Like,
That's so funny.
genius.
That's
Like the kart
great
racer was
marketing.
pretty bad. There was 3 games. There was a kart racer, one that was super forgettable.
Wasn't the kart
And-
racer like you could? It was basically like Mario Kart, but like with
It was Mario Kart, but shitty, and like
Yeah.
it was like
I
Burger King characters.
remember the bike one. Wasn't there like a trick bike one where you were like on a bike and you could do flips
I
and
don't
stuff?
know.
oh, it's wild.
On the topic of the 360, I'm surprised the PS3 beat the 360 technically by sales. Like the Wii blew everything out of
It
the
was
water
fucking $599
at launch, but the fact that the PS3 came back and beat 360 at the end was like an
because
insane
everyone's
finish.
360s were dead.
Yeah, the red rings, the red rings. Oh my
Also,
god.
because Last of Us.
All right, next console,
Which
which
is
is
next?
the PSP or PS Vita.
PSP?
PS Vita.
PS Vita, that's a C tier. I love mine, but it's a C tier.
Nintendo DS.
The
B.
DS, A tier, 100% A tier. We would not have fucking Royal Match and Candy Crush without the DS.
Don't forget the math games on DS.
Yeah, Brain Age. Brain Age was great, but we also got Cooking Mama. We got Trauma Center. Have you ever played a Trauma Center game?
No.
Oh my god. Okay, imagine Cooking Mama, but instead of cooking food, you're a surgeon. But here's the catch. Sometimes patient comes in with a bomb inside of them.
Oh my god.
And so you have
You
to
were
use
just
your
playing-
scalpel to
so you-
defuse the bomb.
So you were just playing an episode of ER back in the, late 2000s.
Or like it'll be like, hey, there's this new disease that we don't know what it is. It may have come from an alien race, and now you have to use your high-powered laser to shoot off these little modules growing inside of them, and they keep growing. Oh man, Trauma Center is beautiful, and it's just got very well endowed anime girlies telling you how to do everything the whole time.
Sega Genesis.
Sega Genesis, I'd give that a B tier.
All right,
It had
Chase.
one of the worst sound chips ever. Sega Genesis audio is trash.
Nokia N.
Nokia N-Gage. Fucking, I hate that thing. I have actually played an N-Gage. It is worse than people even say it is.
I mean, it looks
D tier.
cool. I've never played one.
It is
before.
not. Believe it or not. What does that look like to you?
It looks like a chair, like a footrest, actually.
It's a fucking cell phone.
Wait, what?
Oh, that's the worst.
That
No.
is a cell phone. It is
What have they been doing
Nokia's
here?
video game
this
console
way.
that also was a cell phone. D, the worst thing ever. No.
Can we
Xbox.
just make a new ranking just called Nokia?
Is that the original Xbox? I'd put that C tier. There's like a handful of good Xbox games, and those things were prone. It's fucking Xbox. Microsoft has really shitty consoles.
PSP.
PSP, A tier. I love the PSP.
I never
know
personally had
the
one. I wish
DS
I had
is
one.
technically a better console, but I just love the PSP.
PS3 is technically the next one because that's a 360 revision.
PlayStation 3, I'd give that. I'd put that in A
B.
tier. I'd put it at A tier.
Upper
could
A
install
tier
Linux on a
or
PlayStation
lower?
3.
Upper A tier.
You couldn't. I put Linux on a PS3, and that was awesome.
Oh, you're one
Um,
of those people. Because remember, like
yeah.
when the military like bought 900 PS3s and like super like took
I
Ethernet and
also
hardwired
heard
them
that Saddam
together.
Hussein bought like 500 PlayStation 1s because they were so powerful. So I'd take all of that with a grain of salt.
No, but the funny thing that the military one happened and they fucked up because you're not supposed to install a certain update because it destroyed Linux, and they all installed Linux on all of them. So they basically just
Yeah,
destroyed
there
their,
was
like,
an update that removed Linux functionality from all PS3s, and that was very silly.
What the fuck is this console? The
you haven't heard the-
oh yeah, baby.
Yes,
that was an Android console that had
Oh,
like a total
God.
of 4 games on it. It's D tier, man. It is.
But you can
Nokia
install
here.
hella emulators on that thing.
It was like at the height of Kickstarter, where like everything was getting crowdfunded and nothing was coming out. There's a YouTube channel called Mega 64 where they basically did Jackass, but like video game themed. Like they would dress up as like video game characters and mess with people in public. One of the guys, they almost got kicked off of YouTube because he filmed himself taking his Ouya, throwing it in the toilet, and then peeing on it.
Oh yeah.
Awful console. Awful.
All right, we'll move that back down. Game Boy.
S tier.
Started it all.
Like that's such an important
Yeah.
console. I've never played a PS5, so I can't comment on the PS5.
The Nintendo Switch, where would you rank that?
S tier for sure.
Which in S tier?
Oh yeah,
Nintendo
100%
Switch.
and S tier. Yeah, the technology is not anything impressive, but like when you think about it, that no one else has done this. Of like you can play the game on your television, and then you can take the console with you with no cables and just keep playing. Incredible.
All right, so now we'll do the. Okay, so you mentioned the Atari 2600 earlier. Where would you rank this since you've played it?
I put it in C tier. Like
C.
I think it's an important console because of like it. I think it did normalize the idea of hooking something up to your television, but it was still something your kids hooked up to your television. And I think the 2600 made it was like when you had like the Magnavox Odyssey. It's like that was something that like, oh, is this going to break my television? Whereas the Atari 2600 was advertised really well. It was in Toys R Us. Like it was something that like was trusted. So it's a very important console. All the games on the Atari 2600 are pretty terrible.
Xbox One. I feel like I already know where this is going.
It did bring about Game Pass, which is very important to like the modern landscape of gaming and how we do games as a service. So I would put it at like B tier, but yeah, I think it was a very underwhelming console overall.
Game Boy Advanced.
A tier.
A tier.
Yeah,
A tier.
I would
for
agree with
sure.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of really good RPGs came out of the Game Boy Advance. Stuff like they did the Tony Hawk games on the Game Boy Advance, and they were like isometric, like kind of like the old Baldur's Gate. Put a lot of care into it and made it work really well. So I really like the Game Boy Advance.
To finish
Game Boy
this
Advance.
off, computer.
Fucking trash. PC gaming is for loser virgins.
Chase has his gaming PC behind them.
What? No, that's just a monitor for each Super Nintendo I own. Yeah, I putting computers on a console ranking thing is stupid.
So it's settled then. So the best consoles, according to Ford Into the Black Chase, the best consoles are Sega Dreamcast, the PS2, the Super Nintendo, the Game Boy, and the Switch. And the worst are N-Gage, the Ouya, and PC gamers, because fuck you.
Absolutely.
Screw you,
Yeah,
PC Master
yeah.
Race.
And with that, that's the end of this episode.
Yes.
But yeah, Chase, thanks for coming on as always. The
Of course.
69th honorary member of Pod Ones.
That's me. You can follow me at Forward Into the Black on TikTok and Twitch.tv.
Hereth, where can the good people follow you on the social medias?
Well, you can find me at Hereth Productions on TikTok and Instagram, Hereth_edits on the app. And of course, you can find me here on the Pod Ones.
Char, where can the good people follow you on the social medias?
Good people, you can find me on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram at CharJ, as spelled right here. And you can find me here at the Pod Ones podcast every Thursday night as we cover our live episodes. Check us out next week as we cover episode 108.
You can follow me at Jedi Master Eggs on all social medias. You can follow us at the Pod Ones podcast or the Pod Ones on all social medias. But that's gonna be it. We will
What about
see
Gridiron
you.
guys?
Yeah, Luke.
Oh, I guess
we don't have any loyal
if you're
listeners from Gridiron,
into
guys.
sports betting, sports, college football, NFL, you can find me and my friend Nate talking sports ball. So if you want to check me out there, you can check me out there too. But that's gonna be it. May the force be with you.
Always.
Always.
See you guys.